I truly believe there will be a collapse of like the go-to-market functions and silos, like marketing, sales, customer success are all going to collapse together.
That's Amanda Kahlow, the founder and CEO of OneMind. She previously founded 6 Sense and put it on the path to a multi-billion-dollar valuation. And today, she's building AI agents designed to fundamentally reshape go-to-market.
I think this is one of the things most go-to-market teams are getting wrong, is they're looking at AI to create efficiency gains. But I don't think that's going to move the needle.
Amanda shares how her AI agents aren't just sending top-of-funnel emails. They are actively leading conversations in live, multi-$100,000 enterprise deals.
The CPO was like, Amanda, shut up, basically. I want to talk to Nigel. And then, as a result, we now have a $278,000 deal from one in-person meeting.
Plus, we discuss why bottom-up AI adoption is a mistake, why AI negotiating with other AIs may be closer than you think, and Amanda issues a warning.
The worst thing we can do is pretend that.
Welcome to Topline.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Topline. It's Sam Jacobs. I'm the CEO of Pavilion. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, AJ Bruno, the CEO of QuotaPath, Leaders in Incentive Compensation, and Asad Zaman, the CEO of Sales Talent Agency. And we've got back on the show, friend of the pod, Amanda Kahlow, the founder and CEO of OneMind, the incredible company that builds and distributes superhumans to drive commercial activity among their customer base, I suppose. Amanda, what's the best tagline? What is your preferred tagline for OneMind?
Oh, that's a really good question. Basically, we're building superhumans to help companies grow, but more than anything, to delight their buyers.
There we
If I can create a better buying experience, we win. Everybody wins.
I believe it, baby. Well, welcome back to the show. We're happy to have you. Everybody doing well? Asad, how are you? Your hair looks great.
Thank you.
I have to say, Asad, I've always thought you were very attractive.
Thank you. I concur. Okay, this is going to be a fun conversation, Amanda. We have you back. We're going to talk about the future of go-to-market. Finally, you have a front row seat, and the timing is really good because you're coming on just after the CRO of OpenAI published this post, where the title of the post is "Sales as We Know It Is Over. That's a good thing." And I was reading the post, and she's talking about how they're using AI. And I was looking for more than I got out of it. It kind of was like, oh, we can do research better. And, we don't have to click to go look at a dashboard. We can ask for the dashboard data. So it just felt like a lot of the same stuff that you hear of. But to me, that's not the stuff that like changes sales or changes go-to-market. And so the starting off point would be, there's very few people that have probably this sort of front row seat to how AI is changing go-to-market than you, because a lot of your buyers for what you sell are probably the most forward-thinking go-to-market teams out there. What are you seeing at the very edge, the best, most AI-built go-to-market team? Like, what does that look and feel like, and how do you contrast that to the standard and the past?
Yeah. So great point about that. The OpenAI post. I think this is one of the things I believe most go-to-market teams are getting wrong at the highest level, is they're looking at AI to create efficiency gains. And they're looking at it, like in the post, she was talking about forecasting and creating better insights, and all the information and the data is at my fingertips. All of that's, yes, great, all and well. But I don't think that's going to move the needle. That's going to create minor efficiency gains to make the people that you have more productive. My thesis is that buying and selling happens in the conversation, right? So when you're actually talking to somebody and you're moving the needle and you're changing hearts and minds. And so all this stuff that happens around the conversation to enable a seller is yesterday's workflow and yesterday's process. Today, if we think about it from a beginner's mindset, think of the tools like what AI affords us today. We humans, everything that we built, all the systems we built and all the people we hire is all built around a human at the center. Every tool we have, CRM, marketing automation, all the engagement tools, everything is built with how do I make a seller better? And how do I make it more efficient and effective? But now we can actually shift the conversation. And look, we're just beginning. I'm not everything what I'm talking about here, we're not 100% there yet. This is like, but if we look at technology, what it's capable of, that's what gets me excited.
And where are we going type of thing? Like, where's the realistic endpoint?
that AI should be the center of outcome-driven events and it really having those conversations with your buyers, whether it be for, your PLG motion top of funnel or whether it be on calls, to move the needle, shorten sales cycles, increase ACV, and see real ROI and real revenue impact versus efficiency gains.
Amanda, where do you think humans exist in the current buying and selling process of the universe?
Now or in the future?
I don't know. What's your prediction for where it's heading? Where are we heading? Because in the past, you've said all humans will be obsolete. There was no role for humanity.
That
And
wasn't the
dead.
stance. That was not the stance.
Game
Whoa,
over for
whoa,
all
whoa,
of
whoa.
us.
In my mouth.
You said it.
That wasn't the stance. It was on that side. If Fable gets 2 times better, let's play this thought exercise. Fable gets 2 times better, what happens?
Well, basically, okay, so I believe, the roles as we know them are gone. That's what I believe.
Okay.
The world as we know it is gone and we're not going to, in 12 months from now, I truly believe there will be a collapse of like the go-to-market functions and silos, like marketing, sales, customer success are all going to collapse together. Humans are going to be managing outcomes. Systems are going to be built for outcomes, and humans are going to be managing first touch to close, to renewal, to upsell, because the AI is going to not only do all the things that we saw in that OpenAI article about the forecasting and the looking up the account and doing all the research and all the tasks and the automation, but AI is also going to be the communication. AI is also going to be the trusted advisor and the source of information. It's going to be onboarding customers, teaching them how to get the most out of it, building for them. Like one of the things we're releasing right now is, we call it live demo, but it's not just a demo. It actually builds inside of products and tools for our customers. So you can go in and build a superhuman with our Superhuman live agent that builds the superhuman as you talk to it. So I want it for this purpose. I want it to do this. I want to bring this content in, and it goes in and actually does it for you. So you're no longer going to have the CSM that's going to help build, the superhuman or build any software or make changes within the software. So I think humans will still like have an overlay to those outcomes and be like a checkpoint through the source of truth. But the role and the capacity of what they're taking on is going to be exponential what we have today.
Is that like role that they're gonna play? Is that like you're being kind and leaving like a human in the mix, like, but reality is that if the AI can do all this middle stuff, right, like that you just mentioned, that AI is good enough to do the overlay stuff too, you know what I mean? Like, then how much of a role does that human have? Is it just that like you'll have this one like engineered go-to-market person that's orchestrating like a lot of this stuff, and so where a team needs like 30 people, they need one person? Like, is that the realistic endpoint we're trying to get to?
Well, I think it's like humans play the role of discernment, and like we talk about taste, everybody's like really fixated on this taste conversation, right? And gives us a lot of really good ideas. But I do think at the end of the, like, there's still a place for a human. But I actually think my role is going to be fundamentally different too. Like, I'm trying to automate as much of my stuff away as possible so I can go live in Spain like Sam.
What are you saying about my work ethic?
That's right. Sam automated his job away 2 years ago, and that's why he's in Spain.
Automated. Right. Ain't nothing automated. I just taught P&L fluency again. Amanda, what have you automated from your day-to-day life, like from AI?
One of my favorite things is so basic, but I swear to God, it's the biggest time saver. And every CEO out there and every go-to-market leader who has a network and you're leveraging your network for ghost notes, like the process of the ghost note for me, like, so everyone who gets notes from me now probably knows now they're not me necessarily, but they come to my inbox from Salesforce. Like I can I'll edit it. I just hit send. I don't have to like pull in the content, read it, edit it, do the thing. It's just like there's an agent that does that with my...
What's a ghost note?
What's a ghost note?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. What is a ghost note?
You're like, these guys are dinosaurs.
I think you're talking about like granola or anything that gets like, and then it gets sent to you.
No.
No, you dinosaur, let her tell us what we're not doing.
This is hilarious. I don't know if this is a real question or not. Like, do you guys really not know what a ghost note
honestly,
is?
I have no idea.
Sam's not laughing, so it's a real
I'm not
question.
laughing.
Sam's upset. He's like, I wish I knew.
He's frustrated. He's Googling it right now.
How dare you?
He's using Ask Jeeves to ask what a ghost note is.
Sam, you will learn very soon what a ghost note is, because I'm going to ask you to send some on my behalf. So when I want you to send something to somebody, I'm like, hey, Sam, I need you to get me to like Kyle. I know Kyle really well, but let's say I needed to get to Kyle Norton. And I'm like, I need you to, what you would say is like, write it for me. Tell me exactly what to say. And then I'll send it. Right. So I get like 50 of those a day, right? And it used to be I'd have to copy it for my team because I know a lot of people across our, org and like, or in customers doing this. And so they want me to like open, I can't manage it anymore. And I can't be the one to open our pipeline or do anything. So that whole process has been completely automated for us. And it was just a massive time suck. It would take me almost 2 hours a day to get through all this shit. And so now instead, I'm just like clicking a button and it goes, right? So I look at it, I edit, and
I know what a ghost note is now. Thank you for clarifying that. And I don't do 50 a day. I probably do like 10 a day. And it's not
Yeah.
but it's always in like a thread in Slack, and then I'll copy and paste
pain in
it
the
and put it in.
ass.
Okay, what are you using to automate that process? Like
I
tell
don't
us
know.
the
My
exact
team
thing.
did it. Look, I'm not in the details, AJ. I don't know what they did, but they made my life so easy where now it comes to my inbox. I click on a button. I look at it. It has the pertinency, in the to, and then it has the rep BCC'd, so they can see that I did it. It checks off the box and then goes over and tells them that they did it. And here are the edits that I made. But it just goes out and makes my life like exponentially easier. Like things like that's where like all the shit that we have to do is, and the other piece that we're automating, is just the engagement with our customers. Like we haven't previously done this, and this isn't myself, but when we sign on a new customer, our Superhuman can now onboard the customer, can walk them through the product, can do the things like all these pieces. When we have problems inside of the org where I'm like, oh shit, we're scaling fast. And I'm not going to lie, we got some things that we got to work out. We're like, oh God, okay, this is breaking over here. What are we doing? The first thing we look to is like, can we put a superhuman there? Can they fix the problem? And it's amazing that it can. Now, it still takes some time in some of these new processes, and like having all the integrations come in and have the superhuman have all the information about the account so that it engages the buyer in the right way. But once we figure it out, it's infinitely scalable. And so that is what the beauty of what we're building is. It's still really hard in like some of these obscure off use cases. Like the inbound one, like makes all the sense in the world. Everybody can do it till the cows come home. But on these other use cases, other roles that they play, it takes a minute, but it's worth every minute.
What's a superhuman use case that you didn't think was going to work, but has actually ended up working and is like actually doing a pretty good job?
Well, AJ, if you knew me, I'm like a really optimistic person. So I think everything is going to work until it doesn't. And then I'm the quickest person to say, okay, it didn't work. Fucking can it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I go through life half full. Like that's just, no matter what happens, I'm going to try to find the positive. Like we're going to learn something from this. So I tend to think most of these things. Well, one of the things I don't want, I don't think this doesn't work because it doesn't completely answer your question. But what I don't want to be doing with our superhumans is I don't want to be doing enablement. I don't want to help people learn with the superhumans. Our thesis is I want to be engaging your customers and your buyers, and I want to make their life better versus enabling the sellers to like have the prep or like the coaching or, the swivel chair in the call. Like that doesn't work for me. I really want to be answering the question, and they can learn by the superhuman answering.
Does that not work for you? Is that like a philosophical perspective? Is it a market perspective? Like, Avaro, there's all these, that's a competitive market, that this is white space for us. Is that how you're coming to that position?
I think part of it is like we have to like get clear on what we're doing, and we can't do everything. We already are doing so much.
Yeah.
So our positioning is that we are customer facing. And so everything we do, we are going to engage with your customers and make the customer's life better. And if this doesn't make the customer's life better, it's not a perfect fit for OneMind. And it's been hard. I've had to walk away from some like really big deals because they want to use us for enablement or for coaching. Now, I will get into like there are like we just signed a very, very big logo that they're going to use it for coaching and then bring it on the call. So it's like a transition to like getting comfortable with it, which actually that is an enablement of a superhuman. The change management is one of the hardest things, especially when it's engaging with your reps. So we bring the superhuman onto the calls, and the reps are just used to skirting over the question versus going deep, right? So, and really answering. The thing humans do I don't say poorly, like this isn't a shot against humans, but with the best of intentions, humans.
Jesus. We got to defend ourselves here, humans.
She's so optimistic about the human
She's a
race right
speaker.
now.
Now, I think that humanity is actually going to get so much better. We can talk about that in a minute, and like the world is going to be so much brighter on the other side of all this. But okay, so when you're on a call and you ask a hard technical question, like a human, even an SE, they're going to answer the question with like a few lines or go into a little bit of depth, but they don't repeat back what they heard and say, I think you're asking this because of X, Y, and Z, and this is your problem. And then answer it and give 3 clicks down, accompany it with a demo or a slide that talks exactly to what they asked. A human will just answer it and move on to what they're trying to accomplish. The buyer wants to feel heard, wants to be solution. We teach solution selling because they want to feel that you understand their industry, their pain, exactly what they're trying to solve for. And so we are just as sellers trying to get to the next outcome and get to the next step versus truly understand and truly sit there and really go deep. And so I'll give it a concrete example of this, which is I got on my red eye, which was 8 p.m. and landed at 1 in the morning to Austin, went to meet a prospect. It was a second meeting. The first meeting was 30 minutes. This was a second meeting. We had the meeting like a Friday, and I was like, oh, your team is meeting in person. How about we show up? I knew the CMO, so I came with the AE. It was 30 people in the room or 20 people in the room. We're at the front of the table. The CPO and the CMO are there. The CPO moves over next to me and literally stood next to me the entire call. But on the screen, I brought our superhuman. I brought Nigel, who's a sales engineer, solutions engineer. And I kid you not, it was supposed to be an hour-long meeting. So the CMO and CPO, if you're listening, you know who you are. But it was an hour-long meeting that went 2.5 hours. And guess how much talk time Nigel had? We were in person. Nigel was on the Zoom by himself. And guess how much talk time Nigel, our superhuman, had in that meeting?
45 minutes.
Yeah, less? I don't know.
It was 33%, whatever that number is.
33% of 2.5 hours?
33% talk time.
That's more than an hour worth of talking from like, okay, this is really interesting because one of my questions.
He could answer better than me. I was like, Nigel, take that. The CPO would ask these deep questions.
Can I
and
push you on that a little bit? How much of that is novelty? How much of that is like,
None.
Oh, wow, there's this cool thing. And like a year from now where it loses that novelty, it's like, hey, in an in-person meeting, I don't want the screen talking. Like I want the in-person interaction. Like, do you think that you're going to have a harder time displacing the upper mid-market and enterprise because so much of it is at dinners? Like you're not going to have a Zoom open on the dinner table, right? Like so your AI cannot follow this deal.
Ask me.
Like yes, Nigel. Order food with Nigel as well.
Wait, actually serious. Have you had Nigel open at like a dinner?
Obviously not.
No.
Really good Wi-Fi.
I'm just wondering.
You're making a great point. There's 2 points here. I want to break this down for you.
Please.
That's why I still think there's a role for a human, right? There is the relationship side of it. There still is that for especially the big enterprise strategic deals, of course. And we're still going to have events and things like that. We're still going to go we still, people who want to work will be able to work. There will be a place for them. But to your earlier point, I would say absolutely fucking not. Like there is no way people are going to ask for a human. I believe my thesis is, and we've seen this, you know, when you call United Airlines, you pick up the phone and you're like, agent, because you want a human. It's going to be the complete opposite. You're going to say agent, because you want not to have a human, you want the AI. And the time that is going to turn is when we trust AI more and they can go to that next level of depth. People say people buy from people. You buy when you trust. So you buy and you move forward when you trust something. And so when you can trust, and that's what happened in this room last week, I can give the cursory answer of how our live demo works. But I'm not the one fucking building it. You know, behind the scenes. And I know what my CTO is telling me and I can spew out what he's saying, but I'm not the one behind doing the thing. And even the solutions engineers on our team are not the one like going in and building the code. My CTO put the answers into Nigel's brain as to how this works technically, how we were able to crack this and how we built that product moat. So when the CPO came over and was asking those hard questions, I could give that top line answer. Top line, there we go. That was a plug for you. that top line answer. But at the next level deep, where we really want to understand how it works, the Superhuman was exponentially better than me. And so not only was I deferring to the Superhuman, but the CPO was like, Amanda, shut up, basically. I want to talk to Nigel. And he was having this whole dialogue with Nigel back and forth. And that's what built trust. And then as a result, we now have I'm just going to say it because I'm not saying who the customer is, a $278,000 deal from one in-person meeting going through procurement in 1 week. Like they're trying to get the deal done at our end of quarter, which is in 2 days. The meeting was last week. So a week and a half, and we're moving forward with a massive deal because of that. And like I will 100% tell you, it wasn't novelty. It was, I want to really feel heard and I want to truly understand and I want to get to the bottom of actually how this works to see if I can apply this to my business. And he can use that instead of the agents he was building inside of his product. And so he was like, all right, I'm sold.
Amanda, how important is the human form factor? Like, how important is it that the buyer feels like they're talking to a human avatar?
Not important at all.
Okay.
The face.
Yeah.
I am like, yeah. So I would say a year ago, Sam, I would have said, yeah, you need to have a face. But and that's the novelty. The face is a novelty. The face is like, it drives engagement. So for some top of funnel activities, I tell our customers to use a face because you know what? It's going to get more clicks on the damn thing, right? So there's still novelty. People are going to click on it. And they might, what it communicates is that you're going to have a richer conversation than a chatbot. So without communicating without words, it says this is going to be more than what you had, like what you could expect from a deterministic or just even an AI basic chatbot, like everything else out there. But when you have high intent and you have people who are engaged and leaning in, on our calls, we don't bring a face. It's just a waveform that barely moves because the movement is like, it's jarring, it's distracting, it doesn't offer any value. So at the end of the day, we're not a face. A lot of people think like we're part of like this whole face wave. There are good places where it can drive more engagement. So yes, use it, but it's not where the value comes in at all.
That's interesting. So the value is the ability to listen, like all of the, not necessarily 11 labs, but like all of the improvements that you're making from a speech and voice perspective, where as you did on the demo when we were looking at the investment, like you can interrupt it, you can, speak rudely to it, you can sometimes be nice to it, but it's the voice interaction coupled with the full context that the Superhuman has on the seller's business so it can answer any question.
The value, yes, and so it's more about the multi-agent orchestration. I believe there's only 3 companies that are doing that very well, Sierra, Decagon, and ourselves, of being able to take each Superhuman has roughly 15 agents working behind the scenes. Like one is like doing the small talk. The other one is living a live demo. The other one is bringing up the slides. The other one's creating slides like in the background. They all say, you go, now you go, right? It's your turn to create this like one unified experience that gets delivered in the form of a Superhuman. It's really easy to put a basic chatbot and a face on it and book some meetings. And that's what like a lot of our competition is doing. Anybody can do that. And that business is going to get run over by like build it yourself or do it, through 11 Labs, anything else. When you want to have rich context and you really want to have a solution-oriented conversation, you want to, like, for example, Alteryx is a customer. They have 10,000 case studies in their Superhuman's brain. No human can hold that much information. Like I like to say, salespeople are like dump trucks. You put something in, you take something out. Actually, a CRO told me that of a public company, but I won't say which one. He says, once you put information in, you got to take it out of its brain. And so we have capacity limits. Again, that best of intent, but capacity limits. If I could put all of that information in to a Superhuman's brain to solution, know who I'm talking to, what industry, what vertical, what their pain points are, where they are in the sales cycle, bring all that in to have like the highest quality conversation. That is what's hard is like the depth of information that we put into that brain to meet the buyer with this hyper-personalized one-to-one experience that you could never even get from a human in the sales process. And you can get the depth of a solutions engineer with the, gravitas of an AE and the qualification of an SDR all on first touch. And so that bit is what's hard. It's not just like the questions or the face.
The last time we chatted, I think you said, the last time you were a guest on the show, I think you said you're not going to go into like sequencing or cadence or email. Is that But when I hear agentic,
Oh, she was saying they have to do it. Their customers were asking them to do it.
I mean, Sierra and Decagon are probably in that same boat too. I mean, they are doing that, right? Their use cases like any number of
because I would think that based on what you told me, like what you were just saying, like it's really about putting the conversation anywhere that the customer wants to have that conversation. The customer wants to have it over email, we'll have it over email. They want to have it over text, we have it over text. Want to do it over the phone, we can do it over the phone. Is that how you're thinking about it?
Yeah. And so sometimes we have to build things that we don't want to build, but we have to because the market wants us to.
Right.
And so we had to, let's put it out there. I'm transparent, open. This is how I run my business. We had to get parity with qualified, right? There are some things they were doing on like email and having calendar and booking. We have full parity with qualified now. I didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to not check the box because they're like, we want to do the one-to-one personalized email. We now have that. So we now have that capability. Do I think that's going to be like the game-changing thing that's going to move the needle for our customers? No. But was I losing a few deals because I didn't have that? We support your full life cycle. We're more than just top of funnel. You know, we're your solutions engineer, we're your CSM, we're in PLG, we're in product, everywhere else. But without that one like box, I was missing a few deals and I don't want to lose those deals. So we built things, but when we do send the email, you better believe that it's going to take all the context of all the other conversations, know everything about the opportunity, not just know like some information and basic, context that I can scrape about the account or what that, what their last, earnings report said. I don't care about any of that shit. I care about who I'm talking to and everything else and all the other and what their role is and where they are in the sales cycle, et cetera. That needs to come in when I'm sending the email. So we're hopefully doing it better, but I still, not going to say that this is like what's creating a moat for us.
As you were talking, a few things I was thinking about it. The face doesn't matter. You guys have got Nigel or Hannah was the other one, right?
Mindy is on our website.
Mindy and Nigel.
Each of our customers have different names for their superhumans.
They're there with like all these other humans, like almost as they're playing this support role. And so one thing I was thinking was that back in the day when we sold perpetual licenses, you had this like island model in sales where the salesperson was very 360, prospect, bring the customer, sign them on, manage the account, lead onboarding, do all of this. And then as we moved to recurring revenue, we got this assembly line. And it seems like we're moving back to a position where there's this role for a human and all these other things are getting done for it. So the SC, you don't have to hire SCs, we'll have Nigel be the SC and we'll do somebody else the SDR. But then you've got this person who's like taking the client to dinner. Like, is that kind of how you see it? Which is like, all these support roles, like I can just get rid of all of these and I can do all of them for you and then you get the humans to do the human part? Or are you seeing that this is just like a wedge and at some point you don't need that human doing the human stuff. We'll have this superhuman with maximum context, maximum capability doing everything. Like which of these two worlds are you building?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, the human will still be the relationship, take the business, own the business, but they're going to own the life cycle of the business. Right now, we're not like, look, we're not at a place where I can take on all those roles. Like we're not replacing the AE. We're not doing those things in the enterprise. But the place that we're injecting ourselves more than anything else right now, where we're seeing massive value for our customers, is where there is no business model to put a human, where your buyers need a human experience. So think of like you have a PLG motion. And then you have a commercial motion in enterprise. Like, of course, I'm not an enterprise. I'm not going to be the AE right now. But there's something in between that commercial and even the commercial motion where the depth of that seller, they're not able to go to that next level, right? They can have the cursory conversations.
Let me challenge you on that. Like, I think sometimes there are a few things that might be unnecessary that we think are super necessary. Example is, I don't know if the best way is to give the customer whatever they want, however they want it. That's like going to a Michelin star restaurant being like, I'd like a steak 8 ounce and this. And in a Michelin star restaurant, it's like, or omakase. It's like, I know what I'm doing. Just relax and eat, right? Like there's that. I really like that style as well. I think it works in go-to-market. Like I think go-to-market should be more omakase than, hey, free for all, here's a buffet, however you want the information, etc.
Actually, I disagree. Agree with Amanda where she's headed with this, because in an omakase, like you might have dietary restrictions, and that's
I don't know
fine.
what omakase is. I'm vegetarian,
What?
so
We're teaching you. You taught us Ghost Notes, and now we have to teach you omakase.
It's like a tasting
Wait.
menu at a sushi restaurant where it literally means chef's choice. So you just sit down at the
Like the
sushi
freshest
bar
like
and
fish or whatever you have, and it's all about the experience. But Asad, let me push this back. Like, imagine a restaurant that had all of the freshest fish you wanted, and it personalizes it directly to you in that exact moment in time. What Amanda's really talking to is like solutions engineers, where there's very technical depth, where someone as a seller is not gonna, no way would they 100% know all the different tech stacks. They'd have to understand formulas and fields inside CRM. Like we have this actual issue. And as a CEO, I look at that capacity as a little bit of a cost center versus a revenue driver to the business. It's knowledge, it's enablement. And I want my sellers out there selling and having
Your
conversations.
AE doesn't have to know all of those things. The AE's job is not to have maximum context. So the better AE
In a
is not one that
conversation
knows
where
more.
they need to recall off the top of their like head, they have to have that. So Amanda's not suggesting you replace that front-facing conversation. It's like, I need to recall this. Just like back 10 years ago, I forget what it was called. It was like Talk Desk maybe, or something, Talk IQ, where it was like, oh, objections pop up on the screen where you like, it comes up and it was like delayed. Rather than objection handling, you're actually using this as a use case of like, here is like let's go really deep on this exact problem. And I think, Amanda, what I heard you say is like, the CPO was like, I want to hear really deep on this use case from Nigel. Amanda, you probably don't know actually the answers to these questions.
correct.
And
I did not know the answers to his questions. Like he was, and everybody's trying to be smart too, right? The CPO and the CMO in the room, and it's their whole team. So everyone's trying, there's like, oh, I want to show how much I know about AI.
What is the latency of blah, blah, blah?
it feels like this podcast actually.
But I'm admitting what I
latency of this
admitting.
Bunch of dudes talking over a woman. Yep.
Aw, thanks, Dan. That's
First off,
rare that
Sam,
a dude would say that. So I appreciate that a lot.
The voice
I
of
think I talk
diversity
over
on
you guys
Topline
more,
is
by
Sam
the way.
Jacobs.
if we had gong running in the background, I feel like Amanda's talk time is up there a little bit. So we're okay.
I don't have a
on
problem
that
with talk time, guys.
I think we'll do it.
Yeah.
Interesting. One of the things you were talking about is how the recall is going to be really good, right? Like this superhuman can have all of this information and then can be able to accurately recall it, compared to human recall, which seems to be more flawed, right?
Can I add something to that?
Please.
It's not just recall. It's recall and then using that information to drive to an outcome, to drive to a goal. So you said you cared about X, Y, and Z, and you had these pain points in your business. And the superhuman can frame that and say, oh, I think you're asking me this and you're saying this because of A, B, and C. So here's how I'm going to give you a solution as a result of everything that you said. Our best sellers are the ones who can do that like that, right?
How many
They can do it
things
in the
have
most
to happen
small
in the background for it to be able to do that? Because that's not a one-step task, right? In the background, that's like
why
a
there's
lot of
15
things are
agents
going.
running behind the scene. Yeah, there's the thinking agents that are running. At the same time, you've got your small language models that are making small talk.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I got to pull something up. And then you have another agent that's going to build a perspective slide at the end of the call and say, okay, everything we just learned here, here's our perspective on how we're going to help. Usually our sellers go away and build that themselves, and it takes them another week to get that out. And then all like time is lost. Time kills all deals. Right there in the moment, just built the perspective, understands your business, understands your pain, built the ROI calculator in the moment for the human. So giving the human all the tools so that the human can then take that and drive the deal forward.
Amanda, that sounds like a little bit of a step function change. The last time we talked about models. Now you're having all this compute running in the background. How are you thinking about like cost and margins to OneMind? Like that's a massive problem in itself, right?
Yeah, we're thinking about some open source stuff. But if I'm being honest, my margins are not bad because of the compute costs as much as it is right now. That's just like humans to support building superhumans. And so we're having our superhumans build the superhumans and all the self-serve and the automation. It's more about like the forward deployed solutions architects that have to jump in with customers to build a human with like, I'm going to say replacement or augmentation across their org, right? So
Like the cost for that demo with Nigel and you flying to Austin was probably like, it has to close basically feeling. Otherwise, this is like a pretty heavy lift for the business and expense. So you have to.
Totally. I never fly to customers. Let me just be clear. Like, I don't go to prospects very often. I knew the CMO very well. We go back like 20 years. And there's just times when, and you know what? We were on a call on the Friday before and I was like, oh, you're going to be in Austin? We'll come. And I offered it up without thinking. So
Oh,
that
no.
sometimes my big mouth gets me in trouble. But I'm also an integrity person. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to fucking do it unless I absolutely can't.
Well, it depends on the retention profile. The margin is definitely one thing, but to AJ's point, perhaps the problem is that we don't know how long. Like, we don't know what LTV is in an AI world because the technology is changing so quickly. Do you have a point of view on that? On sort of like how embedded you really are with your customers? Obviously, you want to believe that it's incredibly sticky, and certainly through Alteryx, we both know Steve Birdsall, and he's your biggest fan. But do you have a visibility into like the same kind of embedding that, a NetSuite or some kind of ERP might have with an enterprise over 10 years or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends who we're in with and like what the use case is, right? So we have some people that are buying us just to be the chatbot on the website. And then we need to work our way to get to the CMO or the CRO to say there's so much more you could do, like what Steven's doing. But use cases like ZoomInfo and LinkedIn and HubSpot, we have 4 Superhumans at all of those organizations. In fact, I think I'll to sign another Superhuman right now. So they're using it. We are higher up in the org, and they're thinking about other places that they can use this.
One of the things that I think a lot about right now is the accuracy of AI. Like, I think when you look at the best models against, semi-complex tasks, you have 5-6% inaccuracy. When you have multi-agent processes, that inaccuracy compounds. One of this like ways that people think of AI is that if I take a task with 10 steps and break it into 10 small tasks and put an agent on each task, then I only get 5% overall inaccuracy. It's actually, no, it's 5 into 10, like, it compounds 5 to the power of 10. And so like you land up in a pretty inaccurate place. You land up in a place where you might have 30, 40, 50% inaccuracy on something. So when you've got all these agents in the background doing all of this stuff, they're doing the research, they're developing the contests, they're putting the slide together. How much of an accuracy, like how much is accuracy coming into play? Now, listen, you're comparing it to humans as well. It's not like they're the most accurate people on earth, but how is accuracy affecting what you guys do? Is it coming into play? Are you more accurate than, what we would imagine right now? Based on what I just said, how is that?
Yeah, well, I'll start with your comparison. So the bar is low. Right. So, I can't, this is why this works so well in go-to-market.
Yeah.
Because I just have to be as accurate as a human.
The bar is just low, basically.
It's just low. Like
self-driving cars.
Yeah, like I can't be, this isn't biotech. I'm not doing medical research here. It's not financial services where I'm going to give away your money if I get it wrong, where you can't have a 5% error rate. If I have a 5% error rate, I'm fucking crushing it right now.
What if you have a 20% error rate?
Yeah, we don't. We have scorecards and evals that are constantly running, and we see it, and we're at like 98% across our customers.
Wow,
like our worst
98%.
customer is 97.5%. And so we've spent the last
wild.
12 months like building all these rich evals and scorecards so we can show our customers and show in the places that it's not that we're not accurate, it's where there's conflicting information. They've given us 2 sources, the enablement doc over here, and your website says this, and it conflicts. And then, our answer, typically we default to whatever's the most recent, or our customer can say, always use the decks that you got from this source if you have conflicting information. So they can set up rules for how they want to deal with that conflicting information. But that's where our accuracy is off. We've crushed that on the sense of
That's amazing.
Because we can't. If she's out there spewing that you do something else, or she goes like for G2, where if you go to their pricing page, you'll see our Superhuman, where if you're like trying to figure out your pricing, your plans, and your packaging, and it can actually like do some negotiation. She can't negotiate wrong, right? Like she has to be fully accurate. I think that's
Amanda, you said last time that like latency was the thing that like people cared the most about, is just that conversation and feedback loop. Has that changed in the last 6 months? I'm assuming it's gotten better, but are we at a point where AI is actually, and Superhumans more aptly, is able to interrupt people and have that like more conversational back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, if I brought it onto this call right now, it could absolutely be interrupt. You can tell it to interrupt as well. Like you go on the control panel, say just interrupt AJ and show the slide or do the thing, right? So we can tell it, and it can do that. So it can definitely talk over you. But you don't usually want a superhuman to talk over a human. You want to let the human still have that. Then it feels like you're out of control, and that's the worst thing for buyers. That's not a good buying experience. But yes, like when we're building these multi-agent orchestration, like we're always measuring for and building towards accuracy, latency, latency, the speed, and cost. So the other piece of like, how expensive is this? And keeping the more the superhuman can do, the more context that's going into the brain, the slower it's going to be, especially like, for example, this live demo that we just released. We haven't, we're going live with a few first customers, but we haven't actually made an announcement about it. So it's here now that people know. Basically lives inside of your product and can click around, can do things for you, but a fucking shit ton of context. Like it is that keeping that latency down is really, really hard. Now, there's a lot of things you can do to fake it. Like, hey, let me pull that up for you. That just bought me.
It's like a loading screen.
Yeah, or it says like, great question, Sam, as it's thinking its way through what the fuck it's gonna do, right? Like, so you can like do filler words just like humans. Like you guys asked me a question, I'm like, how am I gonna answer that? And so I just start making up shit.
You like pulled your camera earlier in this podcast so you could get out of the conversation about sales teams.
I was talking to ChatGPT yesterday in voice mode, and it was doing something very similar. Like the intonation was extremely human.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of tricks that we work on to make it feel like instant, even though it's actually not instant because it's taking on a really tough thinking challenge so that it gets it right. And those are the fun problems. Like I love solving those problems and seeing like right now our in-product Superhuman is wild. Like it is so cool. Like you can just talk your way through to build. Think about this. You can build a superhuman with your voice. I can literally talk to the thing and say, I want a superhuman to be in our customer success. And here, like the documents are there. Okay, yes, go ahead, accept connecting to Google to grab the information and the deck. Now I want it to join the podcast and I want it to have all this information. I'll go research Sam. And when you join, do these things, show this content, boom. And it's going to go start doing it and like and then say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Good. Yeah. You can just talk your way through building a superhuman. It's really freaking cool.
That's very cool. How do you think about marketing and positioning? You know, I think about AI companies and you've got this like really interesting dynamic where you've got some dystopian marketing like Anthropic, like they released this really odd, strange video recently, which made very little sense. And it's like their marketing is the weirdest, which is like, this thing's going to destroy everything unless we do it. Like, I just find it very off-putting. That's why I find like, Sam, you find Sam Altman off-putting. I find Dario 10 times more off-putting. I'd much rather have dinner with Sam Altman than Dario for that reason. I think
I agree with that. I think I'd rather have dinner with Sam Altman.
Yeah. So you can either be, as an AI company, passive. Hey, we are here to enable the human to like bring the best out of them. The future will be great. Or you can say, you know, hey, we're doing this thing to displace labor budget. Like our upside is the labor budget that we're going to eat into, which means you need less humans to do that job, right? Like there's this spectrum. How do you choose as a CEO or founder of an AI company where on this spectrum to fall? And how do you iterate on it? Like how often are you like adjusting the message? How hard is it to be aggressive versus passive? Like talk to us a little bit about how you think about positioning.
I mean, it's the hardest thing. Like every day I change my mind on how we need to position ourselves and what we're saying if I'm being completely transparent. It's I do think there is a world where the jobs as we know them aren't there. And I think we'd be doing the world a disservice by not saying that, because the worst thing to do for sellers and I don't think they're coming for like the core AE job anytime soon, but the worst thing we can do is pretend that the world is the same. And, I think that line of like people who use AI are going to eat up the people who don't, I think that's total bullshit. Like there's so many people who use AI and it's such crap. And there's so much slop that comes out. And I really think it needs to be a top-down approach, not a bottoms-up. And so that's a bottoms-up approach of like, everyone go use AI and make your jobs more efficient and effective. And like, we get no gains out of it and nobody's realizing any value. Sure, they need to know how to use it from like 101 standpoint, but the real impact is going to come at the top down when we think about restructuring the org and what we're going to do and how we're going to go to market that's different. But to answer your question, depends on what day and what side of the bed I wake up on. It's a really hard question. And I do, we are taking
there's
some
no
jobs.
easy choice. Like if you took the passive route, I'd be like, that's so boring, Amanda. Like you're like, oh, it's like it's not really what you're doing, right? Like if this company works, then companies will need to hire less go-to-market people. So like,
or they hire more and they do more. They can meet more people where they are, and their businesses can go faster, and they can realize the potential of their market in a much shorter period of time. So you keep this number of people, you just do a lot more.
But the number of people per $1 million of revenue would be less, right? You just might get a lot more millions a lot faster.
Right.
And so like, I really love how like straight you are about that. And I find that there are other companies, even in your category, that have like a very different position to it. And I find that like kind of off-putting. So I really like when you're on the front foot, but I imagine it's really hard. Like it's really hard. And there's probably a different message that AI companies have at the board level where they're like, we don't know. Eat this labor budget, and in the world they're like, we're bringing the best out of humans. I think it's just this really interesting challenge for these companies.
I will say, Amanda, I'm just listening to you around this. Your point of view and perspective is stronger than when we last spoke with you, in the sense that last time, I think, and we didn't get into the debate on sales teams. Will sales teams actually exist in a year or not? But you said it outright. You've backed off a little bit on it in this one, but I think what you're saying in the details actually has formed, like there's a stronger opinion around how this is actually going to go to market, mostly because you have more data in the last 6 months and you're actually seeing this happen firsthand, where 6 months ago, that was still like you were growing super fast, but you were still like figuring this out a little bit on the technology side, it sounded like.
Yeah, we're figuring out like where like you can build these superhumans across the life cycle. Where does it make the most sense, and where are we getting the most value? And it truly is like, even when we build a digital CSM, we're still going to have a ton of CSMs. I just want them to be more the solutions, the thinker, not the doer, not the task person, right? I don't want them to be writing support tickets. I don't want them to be putting content into the superhuman's brain anymore. I don't want them to be updating things. I want them to be thinking about what else can they do in their org to drive value. And so their jobs are going nowhere. But the customers are seeing more value because they can actually get all their questions answered with a superhuman and then do the strategic things with our humans. And so I think we're building more solution architects.
Should humans be buying stuff? If humans,
100%.
If humans shouldn't be selling stuff, should humans be buying stuff?
No,
Depends what the
humans should
stuff
be
is.
selling stuff and humans should be buying stuff. The support.
It depends what the stuff is. If the stuff is transactional and it's like if it's a repeat sale over and over again, then build an agent to buy. But if it's a one-time thing that you're then,
So do you think about some part of your roadmap being, how do I sell to agents, or is that just AEO? Is that just research that's surfaced through the LLMs?
Oh, absolutely. No, we're already thinking about agent to agent, because we're not just giving information, we're actually like solutioning. So we're building, like, think of what a solutions engineer does behind the scenes, that we could do that with an RFP that comes, right? So instantly we can answer all the questions. We can say why, the pros and cons. We can negotiate. Like, I want our superhumans to be saying, okay, if you give me a 3-year deal, you're going to have a 10% discount, right? So they should take it.
I think that's so
further.
interesting, because we assume that on the buy side that the agents will be so deterministic. They're like, well, this is the answer. It can do this and not this. But if any of us have negotiated or persuaded or reasoned with the LLM in any kind of chat interaction, which we all have, we know that you can actually push the LLMs around to a different position than the one that they started with. So actually, because that, for me, that variability creates the economic opportunity. It's like if it's all just like, well, this is the best solution, go buy it now. That's pretty depressing. But if it's like, no, you're in the top 3, now set your agent to negotiate, tell Mindy to go call Nigel and and convince Nigel why she should buy from Mindy.
I think I have predictions. I think in the next 3 years, there's 0% chance that any meaningful revenue will be purchased by AI. I also think that in the next 5 years, you'll find a lot of companies with 0 CSMs in there. I think AI will probably displace all CSM jobs. You'll have account managers, but I think the CSM as we know it today will be like a relic of the past. Like, I think 5 years from now, most progressive companies will not have human CSMs. They might have account managers they're calling CSMs, but they will not have these versions of CSMs.
Can I take it one step further than that, though? So I think that the job of a CSM and supporting, like, a lot of what's happening with like SaaS companies, like the SaaS apocalypse, whatever, like all that bullshit. But what's happening there, like all of those systems were to support humans, right? So going back to our earlier conversation, the CSM is there to support a system that's there to support a human. We're going to have new systems. So the CSM's job is going to fundamentally change because these systems that are there to support like this human-centered process is going to shift.
Yeah.
And so like the way that SaaS is not going, like software isn't going to be built to help like an end. It's not going to help build like having a human in the loop. It's actually going to be built to outcomes. And so that job is going to shift. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No,
but
I think completely. Like, I think if you look at the Snowflake model where you have an AE who is like hunting and farming into the account because it's consumption and high NRR. So it's a very land and expand. So it collapses account management and hunting into one, which is how it used to be. I think that's where we all roll with AI. And I think the job of a CSM is like, in theory, a really good job. We had humans doing it because we didn't have good enough technology, but eventually it's the technology that does makes a customer successful at using the product, is a very like customized one-to-one touch type of thing that you can get AI to do relatively easily, especially compared to the average CSM, which is just horrible. Like the average CSM is like really, really bad. Like we talk about like AEs, etc. Like the bar is really low in CSM world.
well, in their fairness, it is the hardest job in a company.
I don't think so.
Terrible
Not
job.
at all. Like
it's a
it's
really
a
hard
horrible job,
and I
actually.
love my CSM, so I can never say anything. We have incredible, all of you who are listening. Fucking love you. You're amazing. You should all ask me for a raise.
there's nothing harder than hunting for business in
Yes,
any
there
market.
is. It is hearing
Oh,
how
not
much
if
the
you're-
products suck
no,
all
depends
day,
what
every day.
That's like
Yeah, there's
no.
a product you're selling, because if you're, it's easy to hunt if you've got a product that sells
Yeah,
itself.
but that's like 5% of the ecosystem that has high product market fit. The job of the average hunter who doesn't work at 5% of the companies, is much harder than the job of anyone else in go-to-market.
I'm going to agree with Amanda and Sam that
It comes on mine because it's easy to hunt at our company.
our CSMs are on calls from like 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. every day. They have the hardest jobs in the world.
Hardest job.
Impossible. Just because you work hard and long doesn't mean it's the hardest job.
What do we have to decide what we have to define what hard means, because hard, like emotionally deflating, so that you leave the day totally exhausted, not wanting to go to work the
How
next day.
vulnerable
That
is your
seems-
position? How easily do you get fired? You get fired far more easily as a hunter than as a CSM. A CSM at a
No, if you don't
company with
renew your
low
customers,
a
you're going to get
CSM at a
fired.
company with low product market fit can survive much longer than the hunter in that company. The hunter will miss targets. They'll be like, bad hunter, you go, and we'll hire another hunter. Whereas the CSM will stick around for 2 years in that company. You can see the tenure of CSMs at bad companies is higher than the hunters, always. Hence, I will die on
All
this
right.
hill. I will defend my hunters till the cows comes in. Okay, last segment.
Sometimes I know when to stop debating.
The funny thing is, well, Asad is a recruiting agency for sales and new business and AE.
Go to
so
market, like completely. I do a lot of CSMs. I just clean and clear about my opinions. Okay, Bulls versus Bears.
Bulls versus Bears.
Amanda, you weren't here when we were doing this. I'm going to ask you guys a question and you'll tell us whether you're bullish or bearish about this particular thing. We'll start with one of the others so you can see what this is all about, and then we'll ask you a question. AJ, we're going to start with you. Are you bullish or bearish about the future of the sales dinner, taking a customer to dinner, hanging out with them in person?
Oh yeah.
Are you bullish or bearish?
Oh, super bullish.
Both.
Very, 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 very
How many
bullish on
dinners
this.
do you do in a year with your customers?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have,
I do
in
0.
the next 2 months, I'm doing 4 dinners. So we're organized.
AJ, I'm going to send you something that's going to make your dinners
Please.
transform.
Yes, please do, because we're setting this up right
What
now.
is that?
Okay, so I'll give you guys a quick little story. So I'll try to keep this as short as possible.
You can go as long as you want.
Okay, when my mom was passing, so my mom was in the CIA. She had an amazing life, and then gave it all up to go to be a mom of 3 kids, stay-at-home mom. She was working, but anyway, on the night I got the news that she was passing, we were playing a game that she used to play when we were little, which we would bring people around the table She never met any neighbors. My mom was the biggest introvert you'd ever meet. Like never went out, but like once a year at Christmas time, she would bring all the neighbors around. We had no fucking clue who they were. They show up in our house and we play this game. So I started playing it with my friends. And basically, you pull questions out of it. It can be anything from a question about AI and like the industry to stand on your table. Like yesterday, I hosted a lunch and I stood on my chair and I sung Jingle Bells to like do charades to a vulnerable question. So it's a mix of all kinds of shit. It's really fun. So when I got that note that she was passing, I basically decided to create this game around her called Bobby's Game. And so I have a little box of Bobby's Game cards I'm going to send you, AJ.
Yes.
And it will make every dinner event that you host so incredibly memorable because it's not just the same question you're going around.
That's
Everybody
really
gets something
cool.
different. It's everything from vulnerable to fun to like talking about AI, debating, like good topics. It's really meaty. Anyway, it's one of my
That's
favorite
really
things
cool.
to do. It's a nice little ode to my mom. So
Awesome. I will 100% send you my address after this. And
awesome.
I've sent it to Asad, but he has no idea where it is, where we...
I don't believe
We
it.
don't live in a real
I'm not sending anything
in
here
the real world.
to a cartoon city. Sam,
Yes.
question for you. One thing I've noticed is that over the last 5 years, specifically in the last 2 or 3 years, the average go-to-market person's become healthier. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like 10, 15 years ago, like it was an unhealthy bunch of people, right? A lot of
Yeah, of
drinking,
course.
a lot of just like, they didn't look that fit, it's become much healthier. Do you think this trend continues? Are you bullish or bearish that this trend continues?
The trend of wellness,
In go-to-market.
I just think the trend of wellness in humanity I'm a major bull. I think we're gamifying everything and we're also seeking status in everything. You know, the three of us have all texted each other our resting heart rate. Now it's HRV, heart rate variability. It's, your biomarkers in your blood. It's what your sleep score is and how many hours of sleep you get. I think that we're optimizing without a known destination. We don't quite know why we're doing it. To the point of what I was writing about a couple weeks ago, like Brian Johnson living to a 200, but looking like a freaking weirdo the whole time and unclear if he's having enough fun doing it. But I'm very bullish on people trying to optimize their existence, particularly right now, because everybody that's alive right now is sort of at this turning point where, it's what do they call it? It's like health life, whatever, like it's not your lifespan, it's your health span. So it doesn't do any good to make it to 90 if you've got Alzheimer's or you can't walk or you're in a wheelchair. So everybody is very focused, at least in my generation, of which, I'm roughly the same age as everybody on this call, of making it to
What are
our
you saying,
heaven.
Sam?
I'm saying I'm older. Yuck. That's what I'm saying.
Roughly.
I don't hide it
I'm a
as well.
stone
It's
throw
fine.
away.
Yeah.
If you throw it like
everybody-
this.
I am personally very focused on making it to like 65, 70 in really, really good shape so that I can take advantage of whatever science has to offer over the next 25 years. And I definitely don't want to get there and, be too late to make a difference. So very bullish.
Are you taking peptides?
Not yet, because I want the rule in my house is I can't take much that's not FDA approved until I've given all of my seed for our last children. Once we have all the kids we want to have, then I can do whatever I want to my body.
Then I can Brian Johnson this shit.
I feel that's a very fair.
I think that's a very fair bet.
Yeah.
Like even like things like TRT, you can't take testosterone replacement till you're done having kids.
Yeah.
Then
We
once
don't
you're
know.
done.
This stuff hasn't been tested. The jokes they make on GLP-1s are hilarious. They're like, what's the long-term effects? Like, long-term? What are you talking about? We're not
You look
talking
good today.
long-term, man. We're talking about losing weight now,
Wanna get
brother.
laid? This is how you get laid. Okay, Amanda, question for you. I find your company the most interesting go-to-market because it's truly like a step change. Like, it's not just like, I said this to you last time, like Monaco is like outreach 2.0, right? Cool, whatever. Like yours is like something different. Like it's really cool. And it's like, I don't agree with everything that you think, but like, I really love the position you've taken and what you're trying to build. I imagine you think about the old world versus the new world versus the future a lot. And so I'm sure you have a point of view on companies like Salesforce and HubSpot. So let me ask, are you bullish or bearish about Salesforce as a category leader in go-to-market a few years from now?
So I didn't answer that question.
You can switch it with
I mean, they
HubSpot if
just
you want.
bought my competitor, right, for 1.5 billion, which was, not nearly, that's just booking meetings. It's not nearly like the depth and the capacity that our superhumans take on. And they, could potentially be a strategic interest in us one day. So I can't go
How about
sharing.
the basket of companies? How about the hubs? Actually, I guess they're all your customers.
They're
What do you
customers and they're all customers and they're all
what do you
like,
think about SaaS era category leaders in all industries into the future? Like, how do you think about that? Because you also built one, right? Like, you built one that was leading marketing tech for a long time. Like, how do you think about that world? Like, when you're hanging out with the old friends and people in that space, like, do you see a world where these companies still are very meaningful players 5-10 years from now? Or do you think, like, as running an AI company, the game's so different, it's a new company's game?
I mean, I think they need to turn the ship like Intercom did, right? So they need to learn be able to do that. I actually am kind of bullish on what 6sense is doing right now, of like turning into like the clay category of opening up all their data. I do believe they have the best data on the market, and it's been this black box platform. And so I'm excited about where they're going with their new leadership. I'm stoked about the new leadership team that they have there.
I mean, are you on the board of 6sense? I don't
I'm
remember.
not.
You're out. You're completely out from that angle. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I've been out for quite some time.
Yeah.
I have a
Amanda
horse in the
does not
race.
have time to be on boards.
It's true. I did just quit 2 boards because I can't. Like, this is it. Like, I can barely like take care of my kids and, work every day. Like, there's no time for social life and there's no time for boards or anything else. Like, it's my children and it's my work, and then I go to bed. And sometimes I date just like that much.
Have you changed how you think about board composition or board cadence or anything of that sort over the last few years? Like, I feel like early on, it's reactive, like whatever the board members want to do. And I find that second time, third time founders are very proactive in how they want this relationship to work. Any insight there?
100%. So I had incredible board members at 6sense. Truly, they were great humans, helpful, but I managed them from like an arm's length distance. I did okay, we're about to have a board meeting a week before. I'm going to give you a call. Here are the big ahas, like gotchas. What are you going to say about it? Let's get it all out on the table before we get into the room, because I don't want it to happen in the boardroom. So I kept my distance and like gave them the information they needed to have. Whereas now, actually, I will say Cassie Young taught me how to have a relationship with a board member. And she literally taught and it was really opening the door to trust of, she was here for the good, the bad, the ugly. She's a thought partner. She's my bat phone. I am a morning person. I get up at 4 or 5 almost every morning. And she's on the East Coast. And sometimes she's like, you're calling me before I'm even out of bed, so but she's my okay, this is happening. I'm thinking about this particular role or this decision. And do we take this deal or not? It's like, I even get her down to the minutia of some, or somebody's trying to sue us for something. And I'm like, what do I do about it? What do you think? Just to have, which I never would have done in my past life. Like, I would have had the solution, gone to the lawyers, figured everything out before I would take it to the board. Like, make sure of course I'm going to share everything with them, but I'm going to make sure it's all buttoned up. Whereas now I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it to you when it's ugly, and you're going to help me button it up. You're going to help me. You're going to be my trusted advisor in this. And so, but I also come from a different perspective where at 6sense was my life. Like, I couldn't imagine a world where I wasn't the CEO of 6sense. And I didn't have kids. I didn't have a social life then either. And, I woke up in the morning, I worked out a ton, and then I was just working. Like, all I was doing was working. 6sense was my family. We even called our values of 6sense as a family, like fun, accountability, integrity, love, and yes. And those words came from the word family.
That's
because
insane.
6sense was my family.
That is crazy.
And now I don't think One Mind is my family. I think
Day one of every CEO school is it's the team, not a family.
Yeah. And I have learned some hard lessons that and also, I actually also believe second time founders too, if you've had some sort of exit or whatever it is, a lot of people oh, you're not as hungry or motivated. And I'm like, I just have the peace to not have to worry about putting food on my kid's table.
We have kids,
and
exactly.
I can go hard. Yeah.
Man, living the same life in that way. Second time founder.
Not just that, it's people when people make money for the first time, they live frugally because they're like, I don't want my kids to have all of this luxury because then they won't have the drive I had. And it's like, that Musk, Zuckerberg, and Bezos and Gates were all kids of extremely rich parents. Like, they lived in extreme luxury. It did not take any of their drive away. Like, drive is not gone just because you had a nice bed. Like, it's just a massive fallacy.
I can spend my nights obsessing over one mind success versus obsessing over like, how am I going to put my kids through college and how am I going to pull another dollar down to do that? I don't have to think about that, right? So that gives me more energy to put into one mind. And because I've compartmentalized it, that this is a job, it's not my life, it's not my family, that it also allows me to operate at another level for the team and for the board and for investors, where I can say, I'm going to make decisions like what's best for this company. It could be with or without me. I actually made the choice. It was my choice to step down at 6 cents. And if I ever have to do it here, my promise to my investors is if I'm ever not the fit or if I hit a cap or a ceiling, you will not be the one to come to me. I will come to you before that happens. Like, that is always like, I hope I have the foresight to see that and can always like put my ego aside. But I didn't have that at 6 cents. I did it the last mile, like when I walked away, but it was everything. And then I broke as a human. The day I left 6 cents, I haven't shared this really publicly. It's saved from my book, but I'm not going to get into the details of it. But when my email shut off at 6 cents and when I was like done,
yeah,
and I didn't have a life because I hadn't supported a social network. I had some friends, I have friends. Like, my friends would be like, what? We're fucking friends. Like, but I wasn't
like,
super,
okay.
I didn't have, I had like, ended a relationship that I had partway through. So I was alone. It was the darkest time of my life. And I will never allow that to happen to myself again. And I still hit send receive on my phone. Like, I literally would be like, send receive, and like on my Gmail, and nothing was coming. It's like, there's nothing there. What
it
do you
gets
mean?
really
Like,
silent. Like, I was talking to somebody else and they're like, it goes from like very loud and busy to like really quiet. And like,
I had to learn to love myself.
Yeah.
And like, and I did did spiritual journeys. I did a lot of things to like work on my inner and have like a lot of inner work. Also played a lot of golf.
a skill good to have here. This has been great.
I don't waste time.
Amanda, thank you so much for joining us again. And we didn't talk about it, but Pavilion Gold and in partnership with Fog Ventures just invested in One Mind. Are we allowed to say that, or do we need to delete it?
You're allowed to say it.
All right,
Let's
great.
go.
There's a lot of things that are going to be edited out of this episode. That will not be one of them, apparently.
So we're excited to support you. I have one question before we go, because we need more
Why
female.
Why didn't Asian I hear about this deal while it was happening?
Yeah, what are we? Gold. Amanda, who are some other great, you've been at these On the Business conferences over the last couple of weeks. Just 2 or 3 people we should have on the show that are women that are, in your league, in your that you rate highly. Besides Cassie, of course, who we love and have had on the show multiple times.
Cassie's a homie.
I mean, I think of people like, I think of like Denise or Dara from Autodesk. I think of like the really heavy hitter, or the CR, like, I had some good women CROs. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of CEOs that I would say, like, and it's sad. Like, that's why I can't give up, because I have to fucking ring the bell for women. We're less than 1%. We're extinct in the animal kingdom. Like, it's freaking ridiculous. So I have to keep going for women and girls, like, to show that we can do it too. Like, that is what gets me up in the morning. It also gets me up is like to save factory farming, because of all the animal abuse across the planet is
I like that.
Terrible. And so like I want to make money so that I can save pigs and cows and chickens across the planet.
I love pigs. I think they're so
I
cute.
love pigs too.
They're so cute.
We're stopping now.
Underappreciated.
We're stopping now. We love you guys.
Underappreciated.
And thank you for believing me, Sam, and investing.
Absolutely.
Like, sincerely, thank you so much for that belief in myself.
It's only the
and the
beginning.
company.
I'm part of your ghost notes now.
Let's go.
Thanks.